Let me ask this. When I was young and relatively stupid, I was still in radio, or I was in radio, and I was on the island of Okinawa. I broke a record, a world record. I stayed up broadcasting continuously for 116 hours and 15 minutes, and somewhere around the 80 or 90 hour point, I began hallucinating. And when I say hallucinating, I went into a world, Graham, that was every bit as real, every bit as solid, with beings, with things and people and walls and buildings, and it was I was hallucinating. Now,
yes, and again, we use that word, and I think I feel the need every time I hear that word to warn people that actually science doesn't have a clue what hallucinations are. When scientists say that hallucinations are just illusions of the brain, they actually don't know that. There's no evidence for that whatsoever. That's just a prejudice. And hallucinations may well be valid, real perceptions of other realities. And that sounds like what was happening to you there.
Well, I promise you, it was as real as the reality I'm in right now.
Yeah, no, this is the nature of visions, that they have this profound reality about them, and what really becomes mysterious is that reality that you experience can be compared with the reality in visions that other individuals on the other side of the world experience, and it turns out to be the same reality. And this really should cause us to think about what is real and what is not real. So it seems that as creatures, we have been provided with not one, but hundreds of different routes into altered states of consciousness. For those who don't like the idea of using sacred plants, there is rhythmic dancing, there is fasting that we've just discussed, there's staying awake for enormous periods of time, there's sensory deprivation. That sensory deprivation tanks, or just putting yourself inside a cave for long enough, and you will start to have visions. And as I say, we don't know what those visions are. I believe that they are another modality of perception, and some of us have our brain chemistry in such a state of tuning that we're more likely to have those experiences than others, that we may have them spontaneously, and this will explain a lot of supernatural experiences that have been described down the ages. The astonishing similarities, for example, between fairies and elves and the beings that we call aliens today. Looks to me like it's the same experience being seen through slightly different cultural spectacles at different periods of time, an experience in altered states of consciousness which we can reproduce in the lab. And that's what Rick Strassman's work at the University of New Mexico is so important for, because it shows that these experiences actually can be had on demand and repeated.
You recall the movie, of course, Altered States. That was a movie ahead of its time, yes?
Indeed it was, far ahead of its time. And and I still wonder if the time has come for these issues. I wouldn't be speaking out about these issues now if I didn't feel that it was a matter of desperate urgency for humanity, that we need to be kicked out of our existing rigid mental state, which has convinced us, against all the evidence, has convinced us that there is nothing more to our existence than the material world, and that somehow we've come to define ourselves as creatures who simply consume goods and services, and everything is expressed in economic terms. We need to get out of that mental state and into a new one. We need to rediscover our birthright. We need to be born again, literally, in a new reality.